full moon video. Actually, before we get the chart up, we gotta kind of take just a short little talk through Cancer energy, because we're having a full moon in the sign of Cancer, and it happens at 5 degrees. So, what does Cancer mean? Well, what planet rules the sign of Cancer? The moon. Yeah, the moon. So what this means is this is big time moon energy. It's a big full moon because it's a full moon in the sign of Cancer, and the moon rules it. Yes, the moon rules it. So what we're doing is we are going to discuss again Cancer keywords. Cancer keywords: home, family, mom, mothering, nurturing, family, your childhood, feelings and emotions, the mother wound. We think of history, the past, Cancer energy, the moon, the past. So we kind of even think of the past, my family's past. We think of the ancestral stuff, right? Your family's heritage, like where are my people from? We also kind of think about the soul's history because it's the moon. And so there's a history there that goes even beyond the blood. The history beyond the blood, right? The history beyond the chromosomes. How about that? The history beyond the chromosomes, right? There's that thing, that knowing, that understanding, that some would say maybe intuition. There's just something that resonates with us. And we're like, but I've never been here before, or I've never met you before, or I just somehow know how to do something, right? I was just born that way, right? And so there's somehow gifts or knowing and knowledge and wisdom that we come in with. And it's like we kind of might even feel like we've been graced with it because we didn't do anything. It wasn't like we had to work for it. We were just endowed with it innately, like from birth. So in astrology, you can normally see that and like the moon and Pluto and a person's south node. These are the indicators for the past. These are the indicators of the knowledge that you came in with, the knowings, the intuitions, or the intuitional ability, like whether it's cranked up already, right? So the moon, highly empathic. Speaking of intuitions, the moon is highly empathic. So a lot of folks with that empathic ability, picking up on other people's feelings and emotions, especially family members. Think about that. Particularly maybe mom, because that's the moon. Mom, mothering, nurturing, right? And how do you nurture? How do you feel safe and secure? Emotionally secure. Think of childhood and being in a home, however that may have looked, but being in a home. And what were the things about that home that made you feel safe? What people were around or weren't around that you wish were around, right? So now that brings up the whole mother wound thing. Yeah, the whole mother wound thing. It just kind of takes a step up here because it says, what wounds do I have about mom? Was mom in my life? Was mom in my life, but maybe not the best mom? Maybe she didn't do it real well. Or maybe it's not even about that. Maybe it's about my ability or my choice, right? To be or not to be a mom. Those sorts of wounds. And you may have wounds from the past regarding those issues. Okay? So the moon and family and childhood, that's kind of like the micro. But it can also be the macro. And so if your family, right, then we ask, well, what's the moon on a macro level? Well, it's the public, it's the people, it's humanity. Humanity is your bigger family. Somewhere, some way, there are things that whether we want to admit it or not, there is an underlying link where we are connected and we are all one. And that is one of the wonderful things about Cancer energy. Most people with Cancer in a certain way in their chart, unless it's angled off difficultly, they may really love being around the public, enjoying being around the public, especially family and especially mom or people who were nurturers in their lives, because not everybody had a mom growing up, or if they did, she was absent. So sometimes there are other people, teachers, neighbors, friends of friends, whoever, that just kind of stepped in to play that role for us. And so the moon would apply to those individuals in your life. So don't think, oh, well, I didn't have a mom, so this doesn't apply to me. Like, this wouldn't be the thing. Or I had a mom. Like you can have multiple moms, right? You can have more than one mom. But we think definitely when we think history, so we're thinking grandmother, right? Definitely. We think back to the generations and we think, where did my people live? And not only that, but what about their home, the home itself, my home, right? But did you ever wonder sometimes why there are certain things in a home that appeal to you or that don't appeal to you? Like you're like, oh no, don't want that, don't want anything to do with that. Do you ever wonder like if it has anything to do with your history, your ancestry, or your soul's memory, your soul's history, your soul's journey, and the recollection that it brings with it? So the sign of Cancer is all of that, including your emotions. So whenever we have a full moon, because it's full, it says we've finished something and we're completing something. All right. So now I'm going to pull up the chart. We're going to look at the degrees. And yes, I have a lot of lines already drawn because I already did this video, but it disappeared. So we're doing it again. Which might be the best because Taffy was in here and we were kind of wrestling, and maybe that's why I didn't record. I have no idea if I accidentally pressed something, but she did really well fighting for this spot, and then it just kind of got out of hand. That's when I realized, oh shit. All right, so I've got the moon kind of drawn out in the middle, as you can see right there, because this is a full moon in Cancer and the moon rules it. December 26, 2023, the day after Christmas. So there's the full moon. Let me go. I'm saying there. Let me pull it up. There we go. There's the full moon for you. Bam. The moon in Cancer and the degrees. 4 degrees and 58 minutes. There it is. A release, an ending, and a closure. And Estrella is there. So Estrella, feminine energy, shows up again. In the sign of Cancer, women are pronounced here. Feminine energy for sure. So it's like feminine, feminine, feminine. And the ruler of this full moon is the moon. So there's a lot of strong history. I'm hearing suffragettes really loudly right now. Anyway, so that's what I'm hearing. Well, okay, there could be a lot of reasons that I'm hearing that, because we also have, it's not at the same degrees, but I'm just going to point it out because we're here. You see this SIR and that star? That's a fixed star. Sirius, Sirius. This is like a divine mother goddess feminine energy. Interesting, right? 14 degrees. I have her here because there's a lot of things in water on this full moon. And family and home. So this can also, like I said, the sticks and the bricks, your physical home. But we also think of our ancestors. They may not have lived in a traditional brick and stick home, right? There could have been like clay, mud. I mean, there could have been like we lived in caves. Like there could have been a whole lot of that going on that we're not aware of. But our soul certainly would be, right? And so that survival thing and those sensitivities and the ability to never give up. And that's Estrella. She is really determined. Matter of fact, one of her vices is that she doesn't know when it's over. She doesn't know when to give up. She doesn't know when it's okay, it's done. She doesn't know that. Like for her, it's never over. It's never over. Like for her, she will just keep on going. The thing is this moon has more power than her. Remember, it's a full moon in Cancer, and the moon rules this full moon. A full moon, even though it's a full moon, let's so that we're clear about this, okay? Let's just go over here to Virgo, just as an example. Let's go to Virgo and let's pretend we got the full moon in Virgo at 5 degrees. And let's just say, for the sake of this discussion, that I say, okay, we got a full moon in Virgo. And guess what what planet is ruling this full moon? Would you say the moon? If you would say the moon, that wouldn't be accurate. The ruler of the full moon has to do with the sign that it's in. And because it's a full moon in Virgo, I would then ask, well, what rules Virgo? Mercury rules Virgo. So Mercury would be the ruler of that full moon if we were talking about a full moon in Virgo. But we're not. You see, so there's a lot of strong moon energy. So I would say this is a strong ending, a strong closure. Something is completed. We are finishing up on something here. It's finished. So we think about what that might look like, okay? And the only way to know is to find out where's the Cancer energy in your chart. Like, what house number is it in? Because that tells you where this happens in your life. What area of your life. See, like on this chart, this full moon at 4:58 happens in the 4th house. See the number 4 right there? I know that because the 5th house cusp line begins there. It begins there at 13 degrees. And I know that because I see the number 13 right there. So that means that the full moon at 4 degrees and 58 minutes is in the 4th house, which would make this really super intense because the 4th house is the moon. The moon rules the 4th house as well. The 4th house is Cancer energy. So for somebody who has a chart like this is a huge closure, a huge completion, a huge ending. So if this could be like empty nest stuff, like I'm no longer a mom, my kids are leaving, my kids are going off to college, right? It could be like that, or we're moving even. It could be like that. Obviously, it's not like on this day, but it's like, okay, we're finishing this. This home served its purpose. You see? Or I'm done being mommy, right? That whole thing. Although, yes, you never really, truly ever are done being mom, but you follow what I'm saying. Something with the family, perhaps. Something with the family. Feelings and emotions. And usually we're really emotional when we have full moons, right? When you talk to the people who, the people who deal with the public, which, by the way, is the key word. When the firefighters and the hospitals, you ask them about full moons, what do they tell you? Because they deal with the public. Oh, I wrote Publix. How funny. How funny I wrote Publix, like as in the grocery store. Oh my God, that's too funny. Well, the public. That's my letter C. It's the public. I wrote Publix. Okay. So yeah, that's people who have to work directly with the public. They will tell you that when there is a full moon, that it's an interesting time, that it's always a little bit more extreme, that they get some, I don't know, they say that's when the freaks come out during a full moon, right? There's something about it, something that just can't even deny. So endings and closures, remember, feminine energy is really strong when we talk about moon energy. Okay. So we have to also realize that when we're talking about mom and not being a mom anymore, we're literally talking about like my right to be a mom, right? Right. My right to be a mom or my right to not be a mom. There's something connected with the sign of Cancer because many believe that the moon acts as like, I don't have a better word, but it's like a wormhole, they say, where you're leaving one reality and just instantly in a different reality. So it's like when the soul takes form, when the soul takes form. So many describe that as like maybe when the mom is carrying the baby in the body, like when the mom is pregnant type of thing. Although others argue that that doesn't happen until mom is giving birth to baby, like where the soul actually incarnates at that point. This video is not for that discussion because I don't have an opinion on that whatsoever. But if you have 2 cents you want to throw in down below, sure, go right on ahead. We have to see what else is going on at this time to just understand what might we be thinking about. So we go to Mercury. Mercury and Mars are up here and they're together. Yes, let me move some things out of the way. Mercury's at 25, still retrograding. She goes back to 22. So remember, this is the mind. This is news. This is communications, right? Social media. It's in Saggy still. So Saggy is like, what's going on over there? What's going on the other side of the world, across the sea, foreigners, foreign lands, foreign countries. Remember Jupiter, judges, Supreme Court. Think about that. The federal justice system. Think about that, right? The judiciary. Think about that. The Fed. Jupiter rules Sagittarius, so that's why we have to talk about that. And so possibly some sort of a ruling. Mars is conjunct Mercury. This might be difficult. Could be difficult because Mars is malefic. Where it goes, it kind of likes to start stuff. It's like the instigator, right? It's combative. Mars is combative. Very combative, very impulsive, doesn't have any patience. That's what Mars is known for. All right. So I want to point out something is Venus right here. You see Venus? There she is. That's Venus. Her and Mercury always have a line of communication going. And so at this time, this Mercury being this close to Mars, because Mars is going forward, numbers are in black. Mercury's numbers are in red. She's going backwards to just about where Mars is at. She goes to 22. That's what this red line is here. She goes here to 22. So Mercury's really close to Mars, and Mercury has an ear next to Mars. Like she can hear what Mars is discussing. Her and Mars are actually talking because they're right next door to each other. Like they're in the same sign. So they're somewhat compatible, right? The thing is to remember that Sagittarius energy can really blow things out of proportion, or it might be confusing. Okay. So there might not be purposeful exaggerations or purposeful misinformation, disinformation, although there's a lot of that going on for sure. But Mars being here is talking to Mercury. Remember, Mars can be the soldier. Okay. It can be what's going on with the troops overseas, right? What's going on in that other country, right? What's, because it's far away, foreigners, foreign lands, judicial system, spirituality, people of the cloth, even the clergy, right? People of the cloth, Sagittarius energy. It's also higher learning. It's about truth and wisdom and freedom. It's about the future. Sagittarius kind of has that, like the what's the word? Kind of like the sage, but it can kind of see into the future. That's the word, the seer. That's Saggy. It's known to be the seer. It can get glimpses because it's Jupiter, right? So it gets imagery, flashes of what's to come. It might be a little confusing sometimes. And so that's the only caution with that energy because it's Jupiter. So it can be connected to dreams and it might be, again, exaggerated. So it might not necessarily be spot on all the time. So we always just have to be smart and cautious, okay? About what we're talking about and what we're sharing. That is Mercury, the information that you share. Okay. How you collect your data, how you collect your information, and how you share it back out again. It loves to learn. What's interesting at this full moon is Venus, who I've got up here, right there, Venus. I have some lines drawn. She's at 26 here, right? So she is now pulling off of the trine that she had with Neptune, which was beneficial. Venus is at 26, Neptune is at 25. So Venus is pulling away. However, Mars and Mercury are now squaring. They're getting a square. Well, actually not Mercury, because Mercury is going lower in numbers and and Mars is going up. Mars is being squared by Neptune. So even though this Mars is really close to this Mercury, this Mars is kind of tired and sleepy. This Mars isn't going to be as, some of its flame is a little bit lower. It doesn't have as much power and as much oomph because Neptune can just kind of like wave the magic wand, and all of a sudden Mars just wants to go and chill, right? Mars wants to kind of relax a little bit, which can be a benefit thing right now. So there might be, there's so much drawn on this chart, and I looked at it for a while before doing the original video. And in a nutshell, what I see is it looks like we're coming off of a time where there may have been suspended or a pause in fighting. I'm recording this in November, and I know right now while I'm recording this, there is a pause just to release some hostages. This chart looks like there might still be some of that going on, but there may be some back and forth about that. It's not like, hey, this is done and over with. It's like there's pauses and then it picks back up again. There's pauses and it picks back up again. And it's kind of like a back and forth. The other thing I have drawn out here for focus is Taurus energy. Venus rules it, right? So we've got Black Moon Lilith and Jupiter conjunct 5 degrees. And what else did we have near that number? The full moon, right? Yeah. Let me move this out of the way. The full moon's at 4:58. In my book, when I title this video, I'm going to say this is a 5-degree full moon. Yeah. So this is a sextile. This is called a sextile, which can bring ease. Something occurs and it's helpful. So this is the finances and banking and money. You see that? And I just heard, and I'll share it right here, right now. I just heard because I'm a big fan of Incredible Tiny Homes, ITH, and they said that because they build homes out of Nashville. I said Nashville. They're in Tennessee. They're in Newport, Tennessee, and recently their tiny homes, even though they're built, they kind of are like. They're kind of like a mobile home because they're built on a trailer. They're small, and so they're built to be moved around, right? But recently they just got modular certification. So in the entire state of Tennessee, the Incredible Tiny Homes, that company alone, as of right now, that company alone has modular certification. And so having modular certification, it opens up their ability to get home loans now because they qualify under the modular certification. You see? And so when I see this, that makes me think of that. I see this and I think, oh my God, this is that. And now, does that mean that this could be happening in more places? Absolutely. It could also just have to do with interest rates for homes, home rate loans for mortgages going down a little bit. Possibly that's what it is. Possibly. But whatever it is, there's some sort of an ease. Whatever this event will be, it just happens. Whatever this event's going to be. Taurus, creature comforts, housing definitely comes to mind because it's the sign of Cancer, and it's Taurus for the banking and creature comforts, right? How many people are living without homes? How many people are living who sleep on the pavement? How many people live in their cars, right? So this is interesting news. And we also have something in Scorpio at 5 degrees. And this trines the moon, the full moon. It trines that because it's at 5 degrees. And then interestingly enough, we have Saturn in Pisces in water at 3 degrees, 249. That's 3 degrees. So technically, remember Saturn builds something? Saturn wants to build something because that's what its job is. It could take on a spiritual tone or aspect, spiritual work even. And so you have this sextile from Saturn with Jupiter, and then this sextile. It's really wonderful. But then if I back it up even more, we have these two trining Saturn, trining this full moon. And so it's a grand water trine that way. And there's a couple other grand trines that I have in here. There's a fire trine. This is a really long video. I'm sorry. But there's just so many things I pulled off in the first chart. We have vertex. Vertex is in a grand fire trine. Vertex at 13 degrees in Leo is trining. Let me go like this. Vertex at 13 degrees of Leo is trining Chiron at 1527 in Aries, the wounds of our body, the appearance, the actions, the freedoms, my independence, body autonomy. Vertex, a person, a place, a thing, a moment in time. It's fated energy. And that's at 13. And look what we have at 13 in fire. Cirrus, how we feel nurtured. I know you can't see it. It's got a bunch of shit on top of it. Let me move it over. That's Cirrus right there. It looks like a backwards. Looks like a question mark in a way. See it? 13 degrees. Sagittarius, beliefs, religion, spirituality, truth, freedom, right? So let me draw this in red, even though it might look harsh, like it's a square. This is a great big grand fire trine we have. And it includes vertex. This is all on this full moon. So we are ending a cycle about something. And whatever it is we're ending, it likely involves women, feminine energy, feelings, emotions, but security, emotional security, safety, and security. We're ending some sort of a cycle, right? Remember, the opposite of the full moon is where the sun is. And look where it is, in Capricorn. And that's people in charge. That's government. That's businesses. You see that? So it's there's a whole lot going on here. This is the day after Christmas. So it's such a wild time in my mind. It's like, I don't know what the hell this is going to be. I just know that it's a full moon in Cancer and it's a release of the ending of a cycle. To get the more details, find out what house it happens in your chart. 4 degrees, right? 5 degrees. So we're going to do a 2-degree orb, 3 degrees to 7 degrees in the water signs. So in Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, if you have something between 3 and 7 degrees, if you have it between all 3 of those signs, it's a grand trine, a grand water trine. Trines usually it brings ease to an event. It brings ease to something happening. It could even be a release of the wounds and the hurts of the past, because Scorpio is involved and Pisces weaves in the understanding. You follow what I'm saying? Stuff about the past and the family. Scorpio is the tragedies of it, the trauma from it, the trauma. Pisces is, I give understanding. I get the big picture now. I've made it to the other side and now I understand. So it could be a release, a big release. That's something that's just been needed to do. But what I will say too is that this sort of a release, whatever it was that you got through and you made it to the other side, you're stopping a cycle, some sort of a cycle within your family. And by you making it through, coming out on the other side and ending whatever the hell this is that you're ending, whatever this cycle is that you're completing, it's like you are stopping it. And that's wonderful, because when we individually stop a cycle, it then affects future generations. So this is a very big, yet very complex full moon in Cancer. All right. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your time here. I appreciate your comments. If you like what I've done, if what I've shown is of value, please take the time to leave me a comment and let me know. Take the time to leave a thumbs up. Take the time to share it out. And as always, I will see you in the next video.